What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim. Just got back from the Philadelphia Regional Championships. Absolutely exhausted. You could tell I haven't shaved all weekend, and it was a crazy time. Ended up 15th place overall out of over 800 Masters players, so that was an incredible accomplishment for myself. Super stoked about that. Super stoked about the list. Me, Natalie, Riley, Audubon, and my friend JW all played the same deck, and Natalie and Riley both scored points as well. So that was excellent. But I made day two, so that was a lot of fun. There were like 70 something players that made day two. They changed the regional structure so that all people with the 6-2-1 record and better advanced to the second day of competition to duke it out. 4 spots in the top 32. All top 32 players got prize money and things like that. So it was excellent to finish in the top 16. It was great. $500 of prizes. Fantastic. 2 booster boxes. Didn't pull anything with booster boxes, but that's all good. And the list I'm really proud of. I think I've been working on this list for a while. You guys have gotten to see kind of the evolution of this Vika Ray deck just here on the channel over the course of the past couple weeks. And I'm really happy with where it ended up, and I think that this deck is just very strong, and I felt like this list was a pretty ideal list for the given tournament. You guys will notice first and foremost, it plays 3 copies of Shining Lugia. It was pretty much an all-star, made my Shrine of Punishment matchups very, very good. But I'm going to run through kind of a little bit of what the tournament experience was like for me, the decks that I played against and saw at the Philadelphia Regional Championships in the, 15 rounds that I played, 9 rounds day 1, 6 rounds day 2, ended with an overall record of 10-3-2 for 32 match points. In order to make top 8, you had to have 34 match points. That's where the bubble was. So I was very close, just 1 win away from being in contention for top 8. Started off strong with 2 wins, played against Buzzrock and Malamar my first 2 rounds. They both went pretty well. I actually played against a lot of Buzzrock, but then lost to a Gardevoir Swampert deck. It was actually a local player from the Akron area, Jarrett Mesher, who beat me. It was like pretty much the Guardy Swampert list that I had posted to the channel, except he made like 1 card swap or something like that. So cool to see, your own deck do well. He also ended up making day 2, so shout out to Jarrett. However, a little bit crushing to be defeated by one of your own creations. So that was a little bit rough. Then I played against a good friend, Dion Zorik Lucario, and ended up winning that to go to 3-1, but tied a Vika Ray player. The Vika Ray mirror actually can get really weird. It's very much just about setting up. In game 3, I just started a pretty horrible, unplayable hand. I started my Marshadow and had to Lily for just 3 cards. It was horrible. I had to Lily for 3. My opponent has got 2 Grubbins down. I have no Grubbins down or anything. Just start Marshadow, Lily for 3. It was absolutely devastating, really bad. I ended up drawing into another supporter, but had to pass with just a Marshadow active turn 1. And my opponent still, I was bringing it back in game 3. And brought it all the way down to, because they had actually loaded too much energy on a Vikavolt. They also tried to attack with Bulu, so they didn't have a lot of energy in play. So I was able to take out their only Vikavolt that had 3 energy on it. And, it came down to I needed to get a Guzma for game, right? Because I was going to be turn 3 of time, so the round was going to end. And my opponent wasn't able to win. Didn't have enough energy in play to win. But I had 2 prizes remaining, and I needed Guzma to win, or else my opponent would just promote a non-GX and the game would end, right? So I needed to get Guzma off I had a Lele and a Guzma in my final 4 prizes, and I also had a 7-card deck, and there was a Guzma in there as well. So I took my GX knockout, on my turn 1 of time. My opponent was going to be turn 2. I was going to be turn 3. Took my GX knockout, and I missed Guzma and Lele off of the prizes. Absolutely just tilted completely sideways. Couldn't believe that I had missed those. And then I'm like, okay, well, it's fine. My last 2 prizes are Lele and Guzma. Surely maybe I'll top deck, and I didn't. It was not it. So had to tie that round. That was really brutal. And actually, the Guzma was my next card off the top deck. So extremely close, but that's kind of the variance you deal with at a Pokemon tournament sometimes. So then up next, I played against a Buzzwole Weavile Shrine deck. So it was the first Shrine deck that I played against. I was actually really excited to play against Shrine decks at the Philadelphia Regional Championship because of that Lugia was just so good, so unbelievably good. I mean, it was like you were playing a different deck. You just a lot of times would start out with Rayquaza GX, and you would go in with an early Tempest or something like that against the Shrine decks just to set up, because a lot of the Shrine decks aren't playing an easy way to access Judge. So you could start Rayquaza, and even though they're kind of poking away at it with a Buzzwole or something like that, you don't really care. You just attach a grass to it, Tempest, set up a couple Vikavolt, get a couple Lugias into play. Rayquaza will take a prize or two usually before it goes down, but by that time you just have a huge hand, and you kind of have your whole deck at your disposal, and you don't really need to play any other abilities down or anything like that. You really just need the Rayquaza GX to set the deck up with Tempest, and a lot of times, because of the way the Shrine decks are built, they don't have a way to disrupt it. So that was a pretty easy 2-0, the Buzzwole Weavile Shrine. Then I played against Passimian Shrine, a good player, Mike Fouché, so it was very cool. Got to meet him for the first time, and it was this Passimian counters, like there was Mimikyus in there, and actually the Mimikyu was the hardest part, because Lugia obviously very good against Passimian, but very not good against Mimikyu, right? Because he played counter energy and Mimikyu, so I would Arrow Force a Passimian, and then he would counter energy and then Arrow Force back a Shining Lugia. So it was actually pretty challenging to maintain the resources necessary to continue attacking with Shining Lugia turn after turn, but was able to do it. Still ended up winning that series as well. So that was another close one, but I ended up playing against the same deck twice, so 2 Passimian decks as well. Then I played against a Vicaray and a Buzzrock and won both of those as well. Let's see, where am I? Yes, Vicaray and Vicaray and Buzzrock. And then I also played against, Buzzrock. Yeah, Buzzrock I didn't win against. That's Jimmy Pendarvis. So played against Jimmy Pendarvis. I won against the Vicaray to get myself Zoroark. I keep calling it Buzzrock. No, Jimmy was playing Zoroark like a rock. Okay, there we go. I'm confusing my notes here. I wrote it wrong. He was playing Zoroark like a rock. Thank you, Natalie. And so I won Vicaray Mirror to get myself automatically qualified for day 2. So I'm 6-1-1 going into my last round against Jimmy Pendarvis. Jimmy's a good friend of mine, known him for a long time. Very, very good player. He's playing Zoroark like a rock. He's actually not even playing a Dedenne, but I didn't know this. So he ends up he plays 4 Judge in his deck. He's actually playing Great Ball as well, which was a kind of secret card in these Zoroark decks that was being played. They were playing lots of Nest Ball, lots of Great Ball, and some Ultra Balls in their deck, and they just set up very consistently. The idea of the deck was that they just would Judge like almost every single turn, starting turn 1. They played 4 Judge. They'd Judge all the time. And so I never got my Tempest to stick. I never got my Steven's Resolve to stick, but I ended up losing game 1, but I came back and won a pretty epic game 2, but that game 2 did come to time. So it tied against Jimmy unintentionally and ended the day 6-1-2 and was like 20-something seed going into day 2. So I was feeling pretty confident about that. I knew I would have to probably win 5 rounds in order to make it into top 8. So I still had quite a hill to climb there. But it was doable until I saw what I was playing against my first 2 rounds. Actually, I played my first round of day 2 on stream against Shining Lugia Malamar, and I should have known, right? But I didn't know what my opponent was playing. I just didn't. So I sat down and I started setting up with Rayquazas. I see a couple Inkays, and I remember thinking, like, is this a Shrine deck or is this not a Shrine deck? He judges me turn 1, and he starts playing Mysterious Treasure. So I'm like, I don't think it's a Shrine deck because, I don't play Mysterious Treasure in my Shining Lugia. I was just thinking, like, I don't know. I don't play Mysterious Treasure in mine. So, I start setting up GXs and all that, Tempest, and sure enough, by like turn 3, my opponent gets Shrines and all sorts of non-GX Pokemon out, and it's just a disaster. And then game 2 just ended up being, I just prized my energy recyclers, and it was all bad from there. And then to make things even worse, I play against the same deck next round as well. It's just it's really pretty much an unwinnable matchup. Even though you have the Shining Lugia here, the fact that they can Mimikyu your Shining Lugia is just absolutely disastrous because they were playing Mimikyu as well. So they would just copycat Arrow Force. I had to Arrow Force things. They would just copycat Arrow Force, and it was awful. And then they would like Coco Spread sometimes. Well, they'd Coco Spread your field, and then they can knock you out with the Deoxys that does 120 as well. So it was just absolutely disastrous. You just can't keep up the energy acceleration that they can because they just get theirs from the discard every single turn. So they never run out of, they don't have to hit energy recyclers, none of that. So the Shining Lugia Malamars horrible matchup for this deck. Also, Guardy, not a great matchup, though I think Riley went actually 2 for 3 against Guardy. So Riley would argue that it's pretty close to 50-50. And I think it could be if your deck cooperates and sets up right. So started off day 2 with 2 losses. It feels pretty bad. So I went from 6-1-2 to 6-3-2. And now I'm starting to feel like maybe I won't even finish in the top 64, because you could technically finish in like those bottom 10 of day 2 and just be in top 128, no prizes. Top 64 doesn't get any prize money. So I really wanted to dig my way out, which was awesome because I ended up winning my next 4 rounds. My next match was Buzzrock, which I was able to beat a friend of mine, Brian Hunter. Then I beat another Passimian Shrine deck. My friend Noel beat another Buzzrock deck, and my final match was against a Coco Buzzwole Shrine deck. So all together, I played against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Shrine decks. I beat all 4 of them that did not have Malamar in them. So of the 6 Shrine decks that I played against over the weekend, I beat the ones that didn't have Malamar. So that was pretty good. I wasn't planning on beating the Malamar Shrine decks. That's just a bad matchup for this deck. But I think that all the Buzzwole Shrine decks, you just pretty much just trash those. It's just not really all that close. So that was my tournament run. 15th place overall, $500 in the bank, 2 booster boxes. Good stuff. Really proud of the deck and proud of the performance overall. I think that, worked very well. So let's talk a little bit about the list and just some last minute changes that I made. The Shining Lugia made their way in. Obviously, they were kind of all-stars. 3 was a great number for that. And even though, it was a little excessive, I think Riley traded one of the Shining Lugias for a Dhelmise, and he really likes the Dhelmise. I'm not as much a fan of the Dhelmise. It could go either way. I think, if you only got 2 Shining Lugia, play a Dhelmise. Riley likes the option. I could see it. There were times where I wanted to Argent Wing, and Argent Wing wasn't going to knock out the Pokemon in the active because they didn't have an ability. But then sometimes I could get away with the 3 energy attack, and I would just Guzma up. Argent Wing is really good against Magcargo, really good against Diancie, really good against Oranguru. You just go up. If you only have 3 energy on Shining Lugia, just Guzma something that has an ability and knock it out real quick. So that was very cool. Arrow Force, great attack. This thing is just a tank against these Shrine decks. And then my final opponent on day 2 was just so you play 3 Lugia. I was like, yeah, bro, 3. I ain't playing no games. And then with your Rescue Stretcher, you could get even more than 3 Lugia into play. So that was pretty cool. Speaking of Rescue Stretcher, I took it down from 2 to 1. I think 1 Rescue Stretcher is actually the correct count in this deck. You don't really need more than 1. You do mill. I mill a lot. You have to be careful because you can't mill too many resources, and you can't mill your energy recyclers. That's basically the main no-no. You cannot mill your energy recyclers. So sometimes you would literally just Volkner for an energy recycle just to make sure that you don't mill it. And then even though you're not playing it yet, you're just going to keep it in your hand for later. And then you throw some Rayquazas down and stuff like that just to make sure. And then obviously milling when you have your energy recyclers in play is just don't care. Let's go. And you just would accelerate with the Rayquaza Stormy Winds. Stormy Winds, very necessary in this version of the list, especially since we're not playing Choice Band. That was the cut for the Shining Lugias. The Shining Lugias won me, 4 games. They just won me 4 games. So, they were very good against those Shrine of Punishment decks and, pretty much irreplaceable. My record with I would not have beaten those 4 Shrine of Punishment decks without the Lugia. So definitely earned their spots. And then the games that I lost, I didn't lose because I didn't have Choice Band. So the games that I lost were because they were pretty horrible matchups. 3-3 Vikavolt, very standard. The 1 Marshadow is absolutely crucial. I found myself kind of leaning away from going early Marshadow. You don't really like early Marshadow unless you're about to Tempest or something like that. But I really do like Marshadow late game when you just want to draw some cards and maybe hit a Guzma on the same turn. That kind of stuff is really game changing for Marshadow. Also, Marshadow is just a great draw card under Shrine decks. So when you're playing against Shrine decks, being able to just kind of give yourself a new hand of 4 was really good because you can't always Mysterious Treasure for Lele when you're playing against Shrine deck. In fact, that pretty much never happens. You don't really want to play Lele ever unless it's for a game-winning play. I felt like most of the time against Shrine decks, like I said, you just start out with a Rayquaza and you Tempest GX. That, or you could start out with a Lele And, if you start like a Shining Lugia, then you can afford to put Lele down because that's like your 1 GX. You can usually afford to put down 1 GX against a Shrine deck and then just like go Shining Lugia for the rest of the game. Switched my escape ropes to Switch. I really liked Switch, just was nice and allowed me to just target the thing that's in the active position. And that was really good. I found myself doing escape rope Guzma too much with escape ropes. So I felt like I had to make it a switch instead, which I did like the switches in there. I was at 3 Lily for a little while there, but then was coerced into taking out the 3rd Lily by Natalie and my friends JW and also Riley. Everybody was telling me, you got to try Steven's Resolve. Tried Steven's Resolve. I was like, no, you got Fan Club, you got other things. No, Steven's Resolve is really, really good. This is like a $10 card already, so if you don't have a Steven's Resolve, go get one. They're very, very good in Stage 2 decks. Use it all the time. In fact, there was times against like Jimmy, even against Jimmy Pendarvis in my last round of day 1. I know that Jimmy can't win because he can't knock out my bench Rayquazas, right? And I have a non-GX in the active. He has 2 prizes remaining. So I just Steven's Resolve for game in my hand, right? And I just I needed Guzma. So Steven's Resolve for Rare Candy Vikavolt Guzma, just in case he knocked out my active or something like that. And that way, I just guarantee myself game next turn and there's pretty much nothing you can do about it. So that's very good. Steven's Resolve, I wouldn't play the deck without it. Definitely a must-have. The Fan Club also just still fantastic. Really, really good card for setting up and was the best card for getting my Grubbins into play. Volkner, absolutely fantastic. 2 Volkner is a must. Volkner was an all-star for going and getting Energy Recycler out of the deck. That was definitely your highest targeted card, is Energy Recycler, and also Rare Candy to help set up the Vikavolts as well. And then 7/7 Energy felt really strong too. So all in all, I think the deck is fantastic. I mean, definitely a real deck. People were asking me, do you think is Vikaray real? Is it a competitive deck? Absolutely. One finished in the top 8 of the Philadelphia Regional Championships. I'm pretty sure they were playing Delmise. I prefer Lugia personally, or a split like Riley was saying. But either way, very strong deck. Pretty stoked on the finish. So anyways, let me know, what do you guys think of this list in the comments below? Let me know if you participated in the Philadelphia Regional Championships. How did you end up? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching the video. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel, ring that bell. Peace.